In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Nappy Time, a podcast about life and learning. Our guest today is from Monmouth Regional High School, Mr. Christopher Sabol. And fittingly, today's conversation is about Mr. Sabol's doctoral thesis, which is on the importance of preserving performing arts in education. We hope you enjoy. Oh, did it start already? I think it did. Right? Thank you, Mr. Sabol, for coming to see us. Shall I call you Chris or Mr. Sabol? What do you
Chris
prefer?
Is fine.
Chris is fine.
Yeah.
All right. So, this is my mindfulness class. And we invited you here because basically some of the stuff we do here is kind of figure out what's working for us, what's not working for us, how we can navigate life a little bit easier, miss all the stresses and challenges that come up. So I wanted to invite you because you have a very interesting job and story. And I think so. I think so. So I think I want to start with what is it that you do so that everybody knows in school and out of school?
I'm the choir teacher here and the musical theater teacher here. So if you're interested in choir, shameless plug, we're looking for new members. So you can come and see me down in the band room if you'd like. And then, the musical theater teacher here. We do a play and a musical every year. We're about to start Godspell next week. So auditions are next week if you're interested. So, and then out of school, out of school, I'm working on a doctorate at American University right now, which I'll be done with in May. And then I'm also working on a musical with my friend Billy that premiered off-Broadway last August. And we just talked about, we have actually a meeting today in the afternoon to talk about bringing it back to off-Broadway.
That's what some of your students mentioned to me when I brought it up.
In 2025, yeah.
Nice. So, and what's the name of the play?
Straightforward.
Right. Your thesis, you mentioned you're doing your doctorate. Can I ask what your thesis is on?
Yes.
I don't know if you're interested, but I am.
So actually, there are students in here. I won't shout them out by name, but that actually were part of this research, which is that we have to preserve performing arts programs specifically in secondary school spaces, so high school spaces, because it is an integral part of their growth, identity, and development. And we sort of connecting that actually to like the performance hour type things that we do in class, and like why do students choose the songs that they do choose to perform? What does the performing arts do basically for mindfulness as well, and making those connections to like social emotional learning, because that's sort of become the new buzzword in education.
And unfortunately a lot of people take it as a buzzword when in reality it's like, this is the way. This is the way that we care for each other. This is the way that we support children. This is the way that we help them grow. This is the way we should teach.
And when I say buzzword, I don't mean like it's not like we shouldn't be addressing social emotional learning. It just seems it's like all of a sudden it's just something that we should care about. When it's something that we should have been caring about.
100%. But even to think about the fact that we know that mental health has dropped off and has been struggling since COVID. And then after that, to even consider taking away an art form that's, for self-expression and processing, all of that.
I also feel like we're always, and this is from the teacher to like, administrator to like even higher than that level, not really having anything to do with the students. I feel like they're always looking for us to reinvent the wheel with whatever new thing that they want us to do. But like the answers are like there in our face. Like we know what we need to do to like make sure that you all get the quality education that you're supposed to get. We know how to implement like social emotional learning. We know how to implement mindfulness. Like that's why we're here, right? So a lot of times when we sit in these sessions and they're like, here are some ways that we can do social emotional learning. It's like, well, how about taking a music class? How about taking a mindfulness class? Like we don't always have to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly. How many of you guys either create art, whether it's like visual art or enjoy performing art, even if it's not something you share with other people? Okay. That's it. No other artists of any kind. We got a musical artist, right? Don't do that. So yeah, so for those of you who have some kind of artistic practice, what does that do for you? Yeah. It does feel good, right? Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about how you got into music.
I started taking piano lessons. My parents put me in piano lessons like at the age of 5. And I took them from this one lady for a while, and she, I guess, just wasn't for me because she was trying to teach me in a way that I don't think I was very receptive to. She wanted me to play a lot of like classical music, and not that I don't like classical music, I do. I appreciate it much more now that I'm older.
Right, now that you're older.
But back then, I
right.
As a 5-year-old, I don't want to play Mozart. You know, maybe some 5-year-olds do. I don't know.
I really like
yeah, me too. I like that stuff now, but you know, but at that time, like I'm really into like the Beatles and Elton John and Billy Joel and all those people. So then my parents found me another teacher who was able to sort of harness that and then teach me like using those songs.
Right.
And I think that was actually where I first developed like my theory on how to teach students, because we're always said, you know, like, oh, well, this is how you have to do it. And it's like, well, there's now no one size fits all. It's why I hate the word standardization.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Because there's nothing standard about any of you. You're all different. You have all different, you know, abilities, personalities, like ways that you want to learn and
thinking patterns.
And so, exactly. And so, you know, that was from a very early age. I was like, wow, like he did this a different way. Yeah. And like, and if he didn't do that, I don't think I would even be a musician. I don't think that ever would have been in the cards for me.
Because it sounds like he spoke to what was your interest, your passion.
Yes.
And then kind of drove you through that, which I think is, you know, so important. And I think in education, there should be more of that. I think there's not enough student choice. I know that happens a lot in classes like English, where students are told like, this is your thesis and this is what you're writing, stuff like that. And I feel, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like if somebody doesn't know, like really know what it is they're talking about and like care about what they're talking about, it's not going to be good. Just like you didn't care about that music at 5. So it was like you weren't going to latch onto that.
Well, even looking at like the dissertation that I'm writing, when they first told me that I had to write like 100 pages or at least for this thing, and I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? Like, how am I going to write this? And then like when I picked the topic, I was like, the paper's like writing itself now, because it's like, it's my experience. It's what I want to be writing about. So it's literally just like flowing onto the page. I use experiences from what happens to me here to use as examples in that dissertation. And so it literally writes itself. And so students should be able to do that too, like even at this age, pick topics and things that they want to write about.
That they want to learn about.
Yeah.
I think that's so important. Can you share a little bit of maybe some of the experiences that you wrote about in your paper? Yeah,
I think, well, it sort of starts painting a picture of how we put the performing arts like on the back burner. And we're not just talking Monmouth Regional, we're talking
across
the country. And, you know, how we now have to have all this emphasis on like AP and STEM and standardized tests. And I'm sure all of you know all about that because you're living it right now, right? And so in that sort of Venn diagram, there's very little room for the performing arts. And so a lot of times, like with the experiences that I go through here, it's just like, because we've had this decades long systemic oppression of the arts, just because through like laws and legislation, that trickles down to even local schools like Monmouth Regional. You know, there's look at the article that came out in the Falconer yesterday.
Anybody read the Falconer yesterday?
You know, like the drama club was charged like $530 to come into school over a weekend to rehearse for their play, right? And you can argue about the different reasons, and you can read the article and decide for yourself. But like when it comes down to it, it's like, why are we doing this? Like, why can't we come in on a Saturday and rehearse for this performing arts thing, right? Because like we all know that if it was something else, another event that wasn't performing arts,
Right.
the school probably would have been open.
Right.
And so that's just like, that's one baseline example. There's, I think also because there's so many requirements now, like for high school students, it's very hard. And some of you like that have even taken music classes here at Monmouth Regional, it's hard for you to fit them in during the day because you have so many requirements. And that's not the fault of Monmouth Regional. It's the fault of the state saying, oh, well, you need to take this and you need to take this. And there's very little room for you to actually explore your interests.
Right.
Because of all the requirements.
Yeah, and then we get to college, and then you're like, "Oh, now let's start."
Right,
and it's like you're already paying a bill.
That's what's so crazy. Is that like when I got to college, I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, yes, Wagner made me take like a math class and a science and all that stuff, but it was like one.
Right.
And then like everything else was what I was working on, which was like music and theater.
Yeah, that's awesome. Tell me about a little bit about like your high school experience. Did you play then? If you did, how did that kind of like work into just that whole high school experience that can be really tumultuous for all of us?
Yeah.
So maybe a little about that.
I went to Marlboro High School. So I was in the bands there. I played piano in the jazz band, and I played drums for the marching and concert bands, and I also played the piano for the chorus. And like all the shows, like the musicals there. So that was also very formative for me. If I didn't do that, I don't think, specifically playing in the pit orchestras. My teacher had asked me to play in the pit orchestra for Anything Goes. I was a sophomore. And if I didn't play in that, I don't know if I would like be enjoying theater or have even gotten into theater if I didn't have that experience. So that was like very formative for me. I do remember though, like, and I say this to my students all the time, is that I remember that my high school experience actually felt more stressful to me than my college experience at a lot of different times.
I agree.
Because I just felt like in high school, it feels like there's never enough hours in the day. You guys have to get here so early in the morning to do classes, right? A lot of you probably have jobs, family commitments at home. Maybe you have a younger sibling that you have to watch because your parents are at work or whatever the case may be. And then maybe you play a sport and then you want to do extracurricular activities. Like, how do you fit all of that in during the day? Whereas like with college, it's like, okay, you're maybe taking 4 or 5 classes a semester. They're 2 to 3 hours, like maybe once or twice a week. And then the rest of the time, like you have like time to explore like other opportunities, which I feel like, so in high school, you just don't have that a lot of the time. So that felt overwhelming to me as a high school kid.
Yeah, absolutely. And not for nothing, but there's so much else going on in high school. Are you somebody who had other struggles going on in high school, or was it just kind of like the whole high school experience?
Well, I think, I don't know how personal we want to get here today.
That's up to you. We're personal. I'm very personal.
Okay. I would say that I obviously, like as a gay man, I struggled with my sexuality a lot in high school, and it was very hard. And I don't know what it's like for students to do that today. Right. Society tells us that it's easier to do it now. I don't know if you guys would agree with me on that or not, but like for me at the time, I felt unsafe and not able to, and I didn't come out till like after college. So at that time at my high school, there weren't a lot of openly gay people, even on the staff.
No, when I went to school,
so it just didn't feel, I guess, safe. So that I would say that was definitely like a conflict that I had in high school for sure.
Funny story that kind of relates to that is when I was in high school, my English teacher at the time had met my mom, and my mom is gay. And she was like, "Oh my God, you have to come speak to the students." It was like, "We found a lesbian. Please share with us."
Yeah, I mean,
that's how long it was. Yeah,
it's hard. I mean, and I'm not that old.
Yeah.
I graduated high school in 2008. So I mean, that's what 15, 16 years ago. So I mean, it's not that long ago.
No, absolutely. And I think to your point about society saying it's easier today, and I kind of like the way you wrap that up, is I think you're right. I don't think it is necessarily easier. I mean, I definitely saw some head shaking, so I got some confirmation from the students, But also the students that I know that are out, they're not very loudly out. It's like something that I just happened to learn.
Yeah.
You know, so I would assume that there's still that struggle.
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's still like a stigma about it.
How did you work through some of that?
I mean, it was tough. I mean, it felt like as a high school kid, I was like really always hiding who I was, you know?
Yeah.
And that doesn't feel good as a 15, 16-year-old kid when you're dealing with like the quote unquote regular pressures of the world, I guess.
Yeah.
Like just pressures of school and academics and stuff. And then also putting that on top of it, it's a lot.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Were there, when you were in high school, because I know it's a lot different for these guys now, were there any counselors that you could talk to, anything like that these guys have?
I think I do not remember there being like a mental health counselor. I don't know if it's just because that it wasn't like advertised. I don't know if they had one there at the time. They definitely had guidance counselors, but like I feel like back then even the guidance counselor role was so different than it is today.
Yeah.
You know, like for me it was like, and this is like going back now because all of you guys applied it. If you're applying to college, right, you just like applied using the Common App online or whatever.
Yeah.
We used to have to like bring our applications down like in envelopes to our guidance counselors and be like, this one's going to Boston, this one's going here. And like that was honestly like the only time I would even ever see my guidance counselor.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's interesting because I wonder that too in terms of guidance counselors, and you guys can kind of fill us in on that. How much guidance is provided by said counselor? Because it seems, at least for me, that the majority of the guidance is in passing and getting to the next stage, which is usually college. However, I'm sure there's some guidance counselors who might go beyond that. What's your guys' experience with the guidance counselors here? No names. Yeah. Right. So she checks in with you.
Yeah.
Rosa.
My guidance counselor, this person helped me. I feel like in the beginning of like the college applications, and then I have to.
Right.
I know it's the same one as Genesis, but like I didn't feel comfortable going to a mental health counselor for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I went to her for like everything, and she's helped me through like I would say more than mental health.
Your guidance counselor, right?
Yeah. Because she's like, I don't know, like it was a struggle for the first couple of years of school.
Yeah.
And then it like got easier, but like I can comfortably say that.
Right. I have a feeling I have you guys talking about.
You know.
It's my girl.
Yeah.
Sabol? That's very frustrating. That is not great. That's when parent needs to become involved. Just push that parent through. Use them while you still can. Yeah, Jill. That's awesome. I love that. Do you have a similar guidance counselor? Same one? No? Do you know? I don't want to know who it is. I just was curious if it was the same one. No, that is not mindful or kind. Oh, I finally got. What? I did say something. I said no. Oh, I know what you're saying. Sorry, I got distracted. Mr. Nappy finally sent me a happy birthday message. He is officially the
Is it your birthday today?
5th one.
Oh, that's right. Today's your birthday.
Yeah, I told you. That's why I was like, come in. Let's just talk.
Right.
It would be great. It would be great today.
Amazing.
Genesis was the first one to wish me happy birthday.
I said at 6 something.
And I was surprised that you
I was
beat.
gonna send it at 5.
And she fell back asleep.
I was up.
I was surprised y'all beat my dad. He's always up early. I'm just trying to log into here because I put a Google form so that they could ask you questions.
Oh, that's fun.
Then you put a pin. I won't ask y'all, but
Thank God it's Friday.
Yeah. Oh, I do.
You have questions?
I have questions.
Amazing.
All right. Well, we'll start with the short answer one. Where were
Okay.
you born?
I was born in Red Bank.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Where, like, how
At
do
the hospital right here. Yeah.
All right. Did you live in Red Bank or just that hospital you were
No,
born
just that hospital. I
Okay.
grew up in Marlboro my whole life.
in? Okay. All right. And where you live now?
Matawan. Yeah, so not too
So
far.
not too far.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What do you like about that area?
I think Matawan is just like, it's just like the perfect like nestled town in terms of like everything that I need. Like there's a train station right there. I can
Mhm.
get into the city when I need to for like all my theater stuff. You could get to the shore in like
Mhm.
15, 20 minutes. You can get here in 15, 20 minutes. It's
Mhm.
just like so centrally located.
Yeah.
And they're starting to like build up the downtown and stuff and making it cute.
Oh,
and, like,
nice.
yeah, so we're happy there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
He's married.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I got married.
Oh, yes, that was yes. While I pick another question, tell them about your recent marriage and your
Yes.
first married Christmas.
Yes, our first married Christmas, I married my husband John. We've been together for like 8 years. So I mean, it feels the same because it's like we've been together for so long, so it
Yeah,
feels like
yeah.
nothing has changed. You know?
Yeah.
So
How? Where did you guys meet?
in Asbury Park at the Watermark, yeah, which is still open, I think.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is because some of the girls and I were going to go there next weekend
Hmm.
for. You guys remember Miss Torres?
No.
No. She's tiny little Puerto Rican.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Puerto Rican and black. Yeah. She works in Trenton now. But her birthday is next week today. So we were all gonna go to Watermark. But then Mr. Nappy told me I have to go to Martin Luther King Jr.'s 50th anniversary celebration. It's like this whole big event.
He has to go
Yeah.
because it's
No, he told me.
state teacher stuff.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm not going dancing. So anyway, what would you say to people who want to join theater, but feel they can't perform or have stage fright?
I think that there are so many. I mean, I feel like there's two different answers to that. If the person is saying that they want to perform and they have anxiety about performing, then the only way to really combat it is to like get up there and do it. And I feel like for our classes, I try and create like a very safe space because every single person in that class is working towards themselves and making themselves better. And I think that even if you have, regardless if you're friends with everybody in the class or not, or, you know, we're all working towards that common goal together, which is like bettering yourself.
I was originally going to go. I wanted to go to study theater,
Mhm.
and it was really
I
a
didn't know that.
yeah. It was really I loved drama when I was here, but it was really a conflict of relationship, and also there were like a couple different elements. I was like, if I'm like, as much as I love performing, I physically, mentally can't
but then you also don't have as many requirements in middle school as you do in
Right.
high school.
And pause you there for a second. When I was in middle school, we were required to take band or chorus.
And that's probably still a requirement.
That's what I was wondering.
But we've also had students who literally have never picked up an instrument before
Mhm.
and decided that they wanted to do it, and then they
Right.
learned.
I think a couple of the kids in the alumni panel.
Most of them.
Well, I forget who it was. Who was it? Was it PJ? I feel like more than one of them had talked about all of the instruments. Did you have Gil?
Yeah.
No.
Jill,
It was Gil.
Gil had
aim of like wanting to just experience what is and kind of like take in all that's in that moment.
our salary, our health benefits, and all those things. And that can be stressful. It's a stressful